And as Aniki already told you, yeah, as you can see in the slide, the agenda is I'll make a very short introduction, and then we have the talk by Luan Pertel, and there will be questions and answers at the end of Luan's talk. So very shortly, I'm a teacher in Denmark and also eTwinning ambassador. And since 17, I am a moderator of a group that I call Gender KnowHow to Stop Stereotypes. Very long title. The idea of the group is this is a picture from the old eTwinning before it was closed down. And the purpose of the group is to inspire other eTwinners for gender and sexuality issues, and to share knowledge and ideas and links, and to collaborate on themes and create projects and organize group meetings, and then also organize webinars like the one we're having today. And we haven't had a webinar since June on this theme. Yeah, and you somebody asking in the chat if I could send a link to the group. The problem is, and I'll say that because of the merging of the old platform to with school education to the new European school education platform, the group is not functioning at the moment. We're waiting for it to be migrated to the new platform. So at the moment, it's not really functioning, but everyone is welcome to write to me, and then we'll see when it starts functioning again. This is also a screenshot from the old platform, just to see that the idea that I had sort of organized some pages with different topics and subtopics, like norm criticism, which comes originally from Sweden. And the idea is sort of that each country, some of us all have different areas where there's maybe more knowledge in our country, and then to try and spread it out, and to have the things, for instance, in Scandinavian language translated into English, or find those places where the pages are already translated in English. Yeah. In the group, there could also be polls made. This is from a poll that was made about LGBTI inclusion in the schools, and then as you can see, most people did not have a policy about this, and then in the group there could also be a possibility to have discussions. This is a twin space. Some of you might know the digital sort of classroom, and some group members, we actually created a twin space to make documentation for progression in our countries. And right now the project is on a halt because of the merging and the technical issues. And then, of course, webinars like the one we're having today, and since the group began, about in average a couple or 3 webinars a year. And it's always wonderful, like having today, people wanting to give their knowledge and inspire the eTwinning community. And again, sharing stuff. This is just a screenshot from a Padlet after a talk by Iglio. And also from 8th of March, sharing some ideas on how we celebrate, and something about women, important women in our countries. And then hopefully this is a screenshot from how it looks like in the new platform, and as you can see, the arrow pointing at groups. So this is where I hope the group will eventually start again. And this is about enough from me, but before handing the floor to Luan Pertel, I'll just say how Luan Pertel came across Luan Pertel. We were both invited to a focus group interview on people who had made an EU project on LGBTI inclusive material, and we were invited to give our review, our point of views on this material. And afterwards, I thought of, I thought that a lot of people do not know enough about intersex, and especially as teachers and educators, I think it's good to have more knowledge. And so with these words, I'll say welcome to Luan Pal, and again, thank you for taking your time to do your talk. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marie-Louise. Yeah, thank you for the invitation, and also good afternoon from my side. Yes, I will start with a short. I have prepared a very short presentation, and then we will go to the Q&A, where you can ask yeah, questions or give comments or anything else. So now I will try to share my computer, like my presentation. So can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to put it on show mode.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it is in show mode.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Does it work?
I'm not able to see it in show mode.
Okay.
It might be on the top right-hand side, maybe.
Or Luan,
Okay, so I will try it again, because from my, like, for me it is in show mode. So I will try again.
and Nikki, while yeah, now it's in show mode.
Now it works.
Sorry, just before you begin, Luan, I just want to ask, my chat is not showing right now. Is your chat, can you see the chat?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So mine is just okay, I hope I can see it later. It happened to me last time too. Where I couldn't see the chat. Okay,
Yeah.
so Luan, just begin.
Yeah, let us start. So, like, I will give short basic information. Who are intersex people, and what do we or did we experience, but also what our successes we already achieved. So the definition is, like, intersex people are people, they are born with a body that does not fit the normative definition or of male and female, and this can be because of the hormones, because of their body, or also because of their chromosomes, or everything together. A very important thing is, because most of the countries are still say or see being intersex as an illness or as a disease, and this is clearly not the case. Being intersex does not mean that you're having an illness or that you need treatment or even or surgeries. this is not the case. But of course, there are intersex people. They also have medical or health needs like other people also have. Most of the time, you find out during childhood or during the teenage years, when you're a teenager. There are some like 0.5 to 0.7% you already find out after birth or during the pregnancy. And then there are also cases where you just find out as an adult. This has different reasons. One reason is because it is still a very big taboo, and like parents or even the person, the intersex person, they, you know, a doctor doesn't say, oh yeah, you are intersex, that's great, you are a great variation of, you have a great variation of sex characteristics. No, they don't say things like that. They say, they give you a diagnosis, or they say you have an illness and things like that. So that's why a lot of people just find out later when they search in the internet or talk to other people and things like that. This is one side. The other side is because there are some variations of sex characteristics. They happily don't bring any doctors or the medical society to the idea to do something, to do treatment or to do surgeries. And then sometimes people just find out when they are not able to get pregnant or to to get pregnant, right? Then terminology. We have a very clear community-based terminology. These are the words like intersex or variations of sex characteristics, because that's it. What it is about. It is about a variation or different variations of our sex characteristics. So, like of our gonads, of our chromosomes, of our like genitals, whatever there is, whatever sex characteristics you have in your body, there can be also a variation. And of course, the short form inter asterisk, it's mainly used in the German-speaking countries, but I also see it sometimes in other countries, and it shall show the variations of lived experiences intersex people can have. So on one side, like the variation of sex characteristics, but also on the other side, variations of, there are a lot of intersex people, they live in straight relationships. There are other intersex people, they live as gays or lesbians or bisexual people. And of course, also about the gender identity. Intersex people can have every gender identity. So there are intersex people, they do identify as women, others do identify as men, and others identify as inter or non-binary in their gender identity. Most of the time, you or other people will probably hear the medical terms. It is very important for us that we do not identify with these medical terms, and and we don't want to be identified with these medical terms. But also to let you know, the medical terms is on one side differences of sex development. Before, or there are still sadly countries, they use disorder of sex development, and also the word intersexuality, what we also do not use because it is also a medical term. And then, as I already said, a lot of different diagnoses like CAH or PCOS or Klinefelter or a lot of different diagnoses. There are over 80 diagnoses on intersex issues. Numbers I already said, or figures I already said, it's 0.5 to 1.7. Why is this big range? So we clearly say it's 1.7%. There are already new studies, they say it's 2.2%. But why we say 0.5? Because we want to show the range of this 0.5 are the children or the babies you already find out after birth or even in the pregnancy, and then until adulthood it's 1.7%. To calculate that or to break it down, I'm a numbers person, so I always break things down in numbers. It's nearly every 60 person. And with the 2.2%, it's nearly every 58 person. And I'm pretty sure you have a lot of children in your classes, so you can be sure you already know a lot of intersex people, but maybe don't know it, or maybe they don't know it. This is in German, and I apologize for that, but I will try to translate it. Why is it here? Because I want to show you what was the case in Germany by law in the year of 1794. And this is very important because it says, and it still says zweiter paragraph, but please do not use this word. So I don't know if that is also a word in your language. Please do not use it for intersex people. But at that time, it was still called Twitter. And what does this law say? This law says intersex people, when an intersex child is born, the parents can decide in which gender or in which sex they want to bring up their child. When the intersex child is then 18, the child can again decide by themselves if they are okay with the sex or with the gender the parents gave them, or if they want to change the sex or the gender. So what does it say? It is clearly first the parents and then the person had the freedom to say, I'm okay with this sex, I'm not, I want to change it, They could just go there and just change it. And there was no law, no something behind where you had to go to a medical doctor and need a statement or things like that. You had fully freedom to say in which sex you want to live when you are born as an intersex person. What did happen? From self-determination to medical emergency cases, and this happened with the launch of the Civil Code. And with the launch of the Civil Code, it went the decision in which sex an intersex person should live, should grow up, went then into the medical system and into the science, and there was no Twitter paragraph anymore. We were just called the difficult cases. So we were just called the difficult cases, and the difficult cases needed to be decided in the medical system which sex or which gender should we get. This all happens under the myth of the true sex. And the myth of the true sex is like a person, and now I don't know the English word. Oh no. An intersex person had so many examinations until the doctor said, okay, the 138 position of the chromosomes is clearly female. That's why we do a surgery of like this person will be then female, or the 80th position of the hormones are clearly testosterone. That's why this person will have treatments to be a man, or to be their sex will be male. And this treatment concept was made by a person whose name is Dr. John Money. So before these treatments, these surgeries just happened. And then in the between the 1950s and the 1960s, and a little bit later, John Money, psychiatrist and sexological therapist, something like that, from New Zealand, created this treatment concept. And this treatment concept said, the person, the intersex person, where it is not clear which sex they have, for me it is very clear, it's an intersex sex. So they should get an aesthetic genital surgery. They need to get a sterilization with that aesthetic genital surgery. Because of this sterilization, they need hormonal treatments because they do not produce then anymore their own hormones. It was very clear that the parents need to bring them up in a very stereotypical way. That means the children should just wear the clothes for this gender, or they're just allowed to play with certain toys, what is supposed for a girl or a boy, and also the parents should show them how a woman, how a girl, how a man, how a boy act in the society. And then the last part was confidentiality. What was very important for John Money. John Money even said to the first people, and maybe you have ever heard from David Reimer, this was the first person who got this surgery. David Reimer was not an intersex person, but all intersex people then got this treatment from this first surgery. And David Reimer, or at that time Brandon Reimer, was already 22 months old when the surgery happened, that Brandon Reimer got like surgery to be female. So because they had a surgery before, a circumcision, and the circumcision went wrong, and so the penis was not functionable anymore, and these people just, John Money just said, okay, then we will do a woman like a girl, make a girl of this child. And so because the child was already 22 months old, they said to the parents that they should leave the village, the country where they are. They should move to the city, don't talk with anyone about it. Take care that the child, when it's getting older, is not seeing old birth certificates or anything like that. And they also had weekly psychiatrists meetings to make the child very clear that it is a girl, and also to speak with the parents, and also to speak with the brother, who was the twin brother, who was also very confused. Why is my brother now a sister, and things like that. And the parents did that until then Brenda Reimer was 13, 14 years old. And then the mother told Brenda Reimer the truth. And Brenda Reimer then decided again to transition to a male or a boy again. So stopped taking female hormones, took then testosterone again. But the sad story is David Reimer could never go over this trauma and then attempt suicide as well as the twin brother. So they both attempted suicide in between 2 years. What are the consequences of these treatments? So first of all, when you remove gonads, then of course the person has to take a lifelong hormonal treatments. And this is when you are like a baby, it has definitely consequences on your body because to take away the like your own productive like gonads or hormones, it's very difficult. It has a big effect on your bones, on your health, on other things, on other physical things. So this is why it's very different like for transgender people. It's when they are already a little bit older, so they have like the bones and things like that are already stronger. So it's easier that they then are being able to change their gender identity with hormones and things like that. But that's another topic. I will not talk about transgender issues today. I talk about intersex issues. Of course, after the sterilization, you also lose your fertility, and intersex people would be able to become parents, but most of this, it most of the time it was not happened because of all the surgeries. Then a decrease, or of course also a loss of the sexual sensitivity. Maybe some of you already had surgeries and you had a scar, and maybe you know the scar was dumped and things like that. So this also happens when you have a surgery on your genitals, especially when you are a very young, very little child. Most of the doctors say to parents, it's just one surgery and then we are good and we are fine. This is not the case, because when you do genital surgeries, you also always need to think about the bladder and to be able that these people are able to urinate and things like that. So you will have a lot of follow-up surgeries, most of this surgery because of not being able to go to the toilet, like that's how it is, but also because of some other reasons. I'm a very lucky person. I just had 5 follow-up surgeries since my surgery when I was a baby. There are other people, other intersex people, they have more than 10, 15 follow-up surgeries, and they are now in their 40s or 50s. So there will surgeries follow until they are, I don't know, 80 or something like that. And then, of course, there's also a big trauma behind it. A trauma because of the medical treatments, a trauma because of the feeling of not, you are not accepted, you are not right, you're not correct. And this is what you already get when you are like a baby, a little child, and doctors say, oh yeah, children or babies can't remember. But that's not true, and we already know that because of many studies that people do remember that they had these surgeries and that they had these treatments and that they get the feeling of not being right or things like that. Of course, also trauma of the topic of taboo, like the big taboo in a family. So parents know things or does not or do not know things, and but also do not speak about it. So it's also a big family trauma, I always say, because when I confronted my family with it, I always say, a big family trauma broke up, because it was then the first time, like, my parents realized, oh, they did something wrong. They didn't understand what the doctors were saying, and also like my siblings. So they grew up with a person who they believed was a girl, and now they find out this is all just a medical concept, and it is not true. So yeah, it's also a family trauma. What will be probably also very important for your job, for the children in your schools.
Sorry, Luan, am I interrupting right now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Sorry, it's because I'm having some technical problems where I'm not able to see your screen at the moment, and I've been mailing with Nikki in the background, and I'm a little bit worried if others have the same problem. But I don't know. Nikki, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, but
I'm
I'm not quite sure what to do. I've never seen the screenshot that you sent me, to be honest. But are other people also having this issue? Could you type it in the chat? Are you able to see the presentation?
But Nikki, can you see the presentation?
Yes, I see it. Everything is fine on my end.
Okay.
So I think this is just something on your end, Marie.
Okay. I'll try a second time then to leave the meeting, and then I'll try and go in again. But it's very strange. I can only see the LP on the screen as I showed you.
I know
And-
that
and-
is. Mhm.
So okay, I'm sorry, Luan, to interrupt. And I'll try.
No worries, but it would be important if other people see the
exactly. And the problem is I could not, and I don't have access to the chat, so I can't write in the chat. I can't see it, but maybe people could. I don't know if they can put up their hand, if they can.
Yeah, we have responses that they're able to see the presentation.
Okay. So what I'll do now is I'll leave again, and then I'll try a second time, Nikki, and I'll keep an eye on the chat. Luan, you just continue.
Okay, perfect. Good. So what I want to show here is the study from the Fundamental Rights Agency, European Fundamental Rights Agency. They did a study in 2019, 2020, and they said 62% of the intersex people said they had a surgery because of, like, the doctors were prediction of the gender identity or the sexual orientation they will have when they, like, grown up. Then also said that doctors do not talk about a single case. They just take statistics and say, okay, this surgery is good. And of course, because of this treatment concept, the statistics says, okay, this is now state of the art, these surgeries. That's why doctors are still doing it. Yeah, and you can afterwards, you get the presentation, or I will send it to Marie-Louise and Nikki, and you will get it, and then you can also go deeper into this things, into the study. Also, the topic about discrimination. So, like, the experience of discrimination in the past 12 months was 60%, like, trans people, 60% of trans people experience discrimination, and 62% of inter people experienced discrimination in different ways. 63% and 59% experienced harassment, and 34 and 43% physical or sexual, even sexual attacks. And then you can also see again, the last line is about medical interventions. 45% of intersex people experienced it in the age of 17 or below, most of them below, and then 5 years or below were 25%. And now maybe important for you, in the school area, there is also a big part of bullying in school, and 50% of the intersex people said between 15 and 17 responded that they were bullied in school. Bullying because of their gender identity, bullying because of their physical experience, bullying because they had to go often to a hospital and missed school and couldn't do sport because of surgeries and blah, 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 and things like that. And 50% is really, really high. When you think it was 2019, and then the people, they were 15, were already born in the 2000 years. So it's also, it's very weird that this much people, intersex people, still experience bullying in school because of being intersex. But we also had a lot of successes, and it is now 27 years since the first Intersex Awareness Day, like 10 years, already 11 years, since the first International Intersex Forum in Brussels, 6 years since the first law, what was in Malta, to stop IGM. IGM means intersex genital mutilation. So like FGM, it is 6 years ago that the first law, it's already 7 years ago. Oh, I need to change the years. So because we already have 2022. It's already 7 years since the Malta law. Also in India, in the state of Tamil Nadu, there is a clear ban since 2019. We also have in South Africa a bill, a hearing to this bill we had in 2021, and there are also things now happening on the law part. It's still not a ban on the surgeries, but things are getting further there. And it is also very important to not forget that South Africa was actually the first country ever with the South African activist Sally Cross, who ever mentioned intersex in a law. It was not a ban or things like that, I said, but it was the first time ever intersex was mentioned, and this was already in the 1990s. In 2021, then there came also the ban on IGM in Germany, and in 2022, Greece followed. And in 2018, I think Portugal. There are now 14 countries who offer an alternative gender marker. As I said, former countries in Europe with an IGM ban, and many, many other countries, they are already working on guidelines, on medical guidelines, on psychological guidelines to support trans and intersex people. Now, what can you do? But we will go further in that in the Q&A. Speak about intersex issues. Go out today, tomorrow, speak about this workshop. Speak about there are intersex people, and we are everywhere. We are every 60 person. So, and this is very, very important to make intersex people more visible, to make their issues more visible. Organize talks or movie screenings in your school, in your classes. It 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 always, when schools are doing that, it brings us always so many young intersex people then to our local peer groups, and it's incredible how what just a movie can do, and a flyer or a little postcard with the local organization you have, right? So people can take it and can then write an email or call or just drop by. Include the alternative gender markers in your school system. If you are in a country who already has the alternative gender markers, please include them. Please include them in your class book. Please include them in different teaching settings, whatever, in the sport lessons, because even if you don't have now a person who has the alternative gender marker, it makes it easier for people to come out, to talk about, to make themselves visible. If you give it visibility, they will be visible. Then, like, especially in schools, think of other options when building groups. What do I mean with that? Like, most of the groups are split into girl and boys, and then maybe just split groups into topics, or into what they want to talk about, or into, I don't know, what is my favorite animal, if you are in kindergarten, or in the I don't know the English word now. Like, if you are in the basic school, where the children are still very small, connect the students with the local peer support groups. And what is also a thing on, because people always say, oh, then I need to ask this person about the pronoun. Not only this person. Ask everyone how they want to be addressed. Just ask. You can say, like, everyone, if you go to a meeting, like, my name is Luan, I do not use any pronouns. How do you want I call you, I address you, whatever. I can also ask, what is your pronoun? But I think this is something where people are still a little bit afraid about it. Just ask, how shall I call you? So this was very quick, because we just have an hour, and now I say we go to the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Luan, for your presentation. I hope people found it useful. We do have one question in the chat already. What movie can you recommend for pupils from 14 to 19 years?
A movie?
What movie can you recommend for pupils from 14 to 19 years?
There are a lot of different movies. Most, like, I would say the best thing is BuzzFeed. They have a lot of great movies, a lot of great intersex people. They give their like short introductions, short lessons, but you will all get a list from me with different links. So I will send that to you. Of course, there are also movies like No Box for Me or Intersex. You can watch, especially with children like up to 19. Intersex maybe a little bit older, but No Box for Me is a very loving movie from 3 very young intersex people from France, and yeah.
It's called Notebox for Me?
No Box for Me.
No box for me. Okay, let me just write it in the chat. No box for me. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Otherwise, we can wrap a little bit early.
Yeah, but actually, I am back. Luana, fortunately, I could see the last part of your presentation. Um, yeah, but I can't read the chat. It's a bit strange. But I was thinking, when you said the more visibility, the better. I was thinking I might, as a teacher, be like, I was talking with some of my students the other day, and I mentioned to them that I was going to moderate this talk here on intersex, and I asked them, well, do you know of intersex? Have you heard about it? And do you know of, or have you heard of any, are you intersex people? And there was somebody sort of nodding, but I also felt there was this like taboo, and 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 as a teacher, we I think maybe being afraid of, am I trying to, by mentioning this or speaking about intersex, that somebody feel they've been called out without having asked for it, or I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah, I mean, this is, on one side, I understand this question. On the other side, it's also a very difficult question, because then it will still stay invisible. And what is important is to learn how to speak about intersex issues, to not out other people. You should not say, yeah, I know this person from Eastergarde, and this person in house number 29. I mean, you know that you should not do that. But to teach the children that children have the right, and it also says in the UN law, children have the right of a full, correct, fully informed, blah blah blah, whatever education. And intersex issues, it is very clear that there is not only a sex what is male or female, it's also sex what is intersex. And it's with human beings, it's in the nature, and it's with the animals and everywhere. And this is how you should think when teaching intersex issues, not only on the difficulties. It should become a normality. I don't like normality, I don't like it, but it should become normal to speak about it, to teach it, to bring things like that up. That there are a lot in all our world. There are so many variations of sex characteristics, not only with people, and 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 it is important to make it visible, so to make it easier for these people, and that the children now learn all the variations that they are out there.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know, Nikki, if you can see the full chat, so I don't know if anyone has any comments or questions. I just noted down, you said the entre deux sexes, Luan, because I remember seeing this brilliant documentary from Arte, the French-German.
It's entre deux sexes, yeah.
Yeah, is that the also to say, with this intersex activist from France,
Yeah.
who suffered so many surgeries, and he's this person is intersex person is working with cane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was okay. Also, that was called but that's a documentary, right? There are no like films with the story with an intersex person, like how do you say a novel or fiction?
I mean, there is this old movie from Argentina, XXY. It's a good movie. It's also it's also a difficult movie, and you can watch it online.
What could you write the title in the chat?
XXY.
Sorry.
XXY.
I got
Okay,
it. I got it. I put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So far I don't see anything else. So maybe we can wrap a little bit early. Thank you once again to Luan for your time and for speaking on the topic. Thank you also to Marie for bringing Luan in. And thank you guys, of course, for everyone who joined this afternoon. This webinar was recorded, so we will be putting